Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm excited to introduce today's speaker and tell you a little bit about why we wanted Zach to speak. One of my greatest passions in the world is helping conscious businesses grow. And I fundamentally believe the way to do that is by growing your people first, and they grow the business. And too often leaders try to grow the business and kind of drag the people along for the ride. And it doesn't work that way, particularly when you're building a conscious business. So I was so excited when I got introduced to Zach. Talent on Purpose is going to be partnering with him. The Conscious Leadership Collective that is inside of ShiftCo will be working with him as well. There's just a lot of exciting things that he's up to. And I just want to put a couple of things into context. So we believe at ShiftCo in my holding company, Share on Purpose, that the conscious business movement is way bigger than even most of us can imagine, that there are millions and millions of entrepreneurs who are having the awakening that many of us have already had, and they're waking up and saying, I want to do business differently, and I want my business to matter, and I want to give back to the community, and that's part of them, that purposeful part of them is growing. And they don't know conscious capitalism exists. They don't know that B Lab exists. They don't know Small Giant exists. They don't know ShiftCo exists. And so we're trying to really grow that movement. And part of the way we're going to grow that movement is by bringing people like Zach and recording them. We're going to be doing a series of webisodes. We're going to be doing a media campaign with PR to really talk about the principles of stakeholder capitalism. And one of those is putting people first. So Zach, I'm so delighted to have you here today, and I'm just going to turn it over to you and learn from you today. So take it away.
Terry, you're so kind, and I'm so excited to be with you all today. It's really interesting when I kind of think back on my story. I worked for a lot of years in the nonprofit space, worked as a COO, and really for me, starting Intention Collective, and it was really born, if we're being quite honest, out of some frustration with my last place of work. And I think for many of us, we kind of have those Popeye moments. If you remember that cartoon, like, I've had all I can stands, I can't stands no more. And for me, that really was, we have to be about putting people first. Growth for growth's sake helps no one. And for me, we go in and help companies grow and scale in a healthy way. My work through the years has really been focused on how do I help leaders lead more effectively, more transformationally, and also create healthy teams. And for so many years, I was told you can either have growth or you can either have health. You can have a healthy team and a healthy culture, but you're probably not going to see growth, or you can grow for growth's sake. And, you're probably going to have high turnover. People are probably going to hate you, but you're going to make a ton of money. And I just think that there's a power to end. I think, you can be focused on growth and health at the same time. You can scale and grow your company in a very purposeful way that puts people first and defy the norms, right? And have people who are engaged and love working there, and you can treat them like owners, and you can be radically generous in your pay structures and still have a really thriving company. And so that's what we help companies do, is really help leaders lead in effective ways and grow and scale healthy companies. And so this is my family. This is really my reason why. My wife, Jackie, is a clinical therapist, and I just advanced that slide on accident. My wife, Jackie's a clinical therapist. We have 3 boys. Nazir is 10, just started 5th grade. Amir is he is 9 and in 4th grade. He told me last night, he was like, I think I'm going to be a therapist. I'm really good at it. And I was like, okay, buddy. It's amazing. And then Sammy runs our house. He's our youngest. He is 6 and in kindergarten, and visits the office at his school quite regularly. So we live in the Nashville area. We've lived down here for about 6 years. And so today we're going to talk about really this idea of sustainable growth, putting people first, really elevating the purpose and sustainability and growth of companies, while looking at that through the lens of people, looking at that through the lens of the unique genius of every person on the team. For a lot of years, as in a COO role, I sat in strategic planning sessions, and those strategic planning sessions were usually marked by this: they were really long. It was hard to stay awake. Like, the snacks were really important, because by like 1 p.m. everyone is like downing caffeine and chocolate to try to stay awake. Usually it was just like the upper echelon of the company, right? Like, we didn't really care what anyone else had to say. We didn't say that though, but in reality, didn't really care. And frankly, like, all this work, time, and effort went into this big long document in a pretty binder that ended up on a shelf collecting dust. And I thought, as an operator of a company, I was always thinking, how much does stuff cost? Not in terms of just how much am I paying a facilitator, but we got 10 people in this room. Like, this is costing us $1,000 an hour. We're spending so much time and energy on this. Why can't we make a plan that includes everyone, that helps everyone understand with great clarity what it is that we're doing, why we're here, and builds into them development and honing of their gifts and abilities so that they love what they do, and we can align that to the purpose of why we're here and where we want to grow together. And so I just thought there's a better way. And so I put a PDF link in the chat, and I'd love for you to download that and open that up. And I hope to walk through that together today. I want you to walk away with a killer strategy for your organization, for your company. And we're going to all agree together today that this is going to be an SFD. So, any Brene Brown fans in the room? Okay, so Brene Brown coined this acronym. SFD stands for Shitty First Draft.
Oh.
And a shitty first draft is, we're going to try our best. It's not going to be our final product. And we're not seeking perfection today. We're seeking some progress. And when I think about strategy, when I think about execution, it all starts with our vision, right? Who is it that we are? Who is it that we want to be? That's our job as leaders, as a leadership team, to really get clear on that, to get it out of our heads, to get it onto paper, and to start getting some clarity around it. And then we have to execute well, right? We have to, on a daily basis, be doing the work, be aligning the work, making sure every person on our team understands their roles, their contribution. I love Dan Sullivan's quote: hire the right who's and let them figure out the how. Help them understand, what is it that you're here to do? Give them the authority, the autonomy to do their job well. But that comes with clarity. And so, to me, strategy fits in the middle, right? Strategy is the bridge between our vision for the company and how we execute on a daily basis. And here's the thing about vision. If we step back to vision, and as leaders, it's our job to clarify this for our team. And I'm saying this as a strategy guy, a vision for who we are and why we exist is more powerful than any business strategy. But oftentimes that vision lies only in our head, and people don't understand the why and where it is that we're going. And secondly, it's so important, if you leave with nothing else than this today, create a vision for your company where everyone finds their role in the story. Create a vision for your company where everyone finds their role in that story. And I will tell you, if people find their role in the story of the vision of your organization, you're going to find alignment, you're going to find motivation, you're going to find joy, you're going to find fulfillment. in what they do on a daily basis. It's interesting, and I'm a nerd by default. And one of the really interesting things when you study motivation, fulfillment, joy, utilization of our gifts and abilities, when people can align their gifts, their strengths, their genius in their work, we know through PET imaging now, a normal QEEG, which is just a measure of brain activity, looks like this. I should probably put this illustration in here. It just kind of looks like kind of like a heartbeat line. When we are functioning outside of our motivations, our strengths, our genius, it looks like this. And what's interesting is people on the outside look the same, but they're expending so much mental energy that they're dithering. They are expending so much mental energy. They're exhausted. They're not finding joy and fulfillment in their role. And what ends up happening is, in dithering is just a fancy word for they're spinning their wheels. They leave every day from their work and their jobs, and they feel like they're working a lot, and they're completely exhausted and drained because they're not finding how to utilize their genius in the story of our organizations. So that's what we're going to walk away with today, is hopefully helping align our vision to helping everyone on our team find a role in that story. So this is a doc we use with teams, and I think it's really probably one of the most powerful documents that we have in our toolbox as leaders of organizations. And really, this is pulling your vision in aligning the ability to execute on it. This one pager sort of pulls it all out. It tells us who we are as an organization. It helps us understand what to stay focused on, and it helps engineer culture as we scale. And it helps us make the right decisions on what we're betting on, right? As business leaders, we're making bets all day, every day, in helping to grow our teams, grow our organizations, grow the clients that we're working with. This really helps us find that clarity. So we're going to go through this, and you're going to do this for you. And we're going to start up here. And normally I'm going to tell you I'd take like 2 days to go through this and really hone this with clients. So we're going to do this in like 30 minutes. So this is really going to be a shitty first draft, and that's okay. It will change over time and hopefully get you thinking. Okay, so top left-hand corner, this is what we call your onlyness statement. In your onlyness statement, this idea comes from Marty Niedermeyer, who wrote the book Zags. And this is the clarity of your only. This is the industry that you play in, the sandbox that your company, your organization plays in. And more importantly, it helps define your uniqueness, not just to your clients, but to your team members, to you. And I don't want you to get sort of like overly existential here. Sometimes people are like, I can't be the only, there has to be someone else in the world. And I'm like, calm down. This is you. Like, we're just going to focus on you right now. What can you be the only at? So we're the only blank that blanks. And I'm going to walk you through a couple of examples here so you can kind of get an idea here. Your onlyness statement really is what are we saying are the parameters of where we work and what we can do really, really well. If you think about, for you, and this is a good way to think about this, who's your competition? If someone was, going out to buy the service that you provide, who else might they get proposals from, or who else might they do research on? And then think about, okay, if that's my competition, why should someone choose me, my company, my organization over them? That's a good sort of lens to look at this through. So here's a couple for you. It's a past client, digital agency. We're a B2B marketing agency that provides a team of experts in a proven process for the price of one full-time employee. Here's another. We're the only motor manufacturer that makes big, loud motorcycles for macho guys. That is Harley Davidson's. This is ours. You probably can tell this. I have trouble being concise. So like our SFD was way longer than this. So the fact that it's shorter is a win for our team. We're the only collective of skilled coaches that wholeheartedly steps into the whirlwind with entrepreneurial teams to guide healthy and courageous growth. So since I can see you all, I had to do this the other day and I was on a webinar. I couldn't see anyone and I was like, I'm really tired of looking at myself. So I'm excited that I can see a few of you. Anyone willing to share your SFD. You're the only blank that blanks. Kim.
Thanks. I was on a webinar yesterday and I was the only one on camera. And my friend was leading it and I felt so bad for her. And not that anyone wants to look at me, but I thought she really needed a human being.
You are so kind. That's amazing.
Well, thank you. So I wrote one. We are the only team that uses community training and group coaching to empower small businesses and nonprofits to take control of their communications and marketing.
Love it. I would encourage you to put another descriptor on your first line. We are the only blank team to use a little bit of an adjective there to further refine that. That's a really good start. I love that, Kim.
Well, you know what? We're an experienced professional team.
Okay. Love it. Good.
We're all old.
I love that. One more. Who else is willing to share?
Thank you.
Everyone's looking down. I love it. Merritt unmuted, so Merritt's going to share.
I'll share. So I'm reading Profit First. And in Profit First, he says that he is here to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty, which I love that statement. And I was like, ooh. So I've been playing with this phrase this morning. Master of One Coaching is the only executive coaching practice for founders and first-time execs that eradicates executive mediocrity.
Oh, I love that.
I thought you'd like that, Terry.
That's a kick-ass statement right there.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But I have to give Profit First some props because he was the inspiration for that. So
I love it. Good job. That's awesome. Both of you. These are great statements. I love it. All right, we're gonna, just for time's sake, I'm gonna keep us moving. We're gonna move down to our destination statement, and this really speaks to the soul of your organization. Right. And here we start to figure out where are we going and what's the pace in which we're going to get there. Right. And this matters because if we're charting a course where people can find their part to the story, we got to have a course. We got to have a destination. And so we encourage people to think, let's say 3 to 5 years out. Where are you going? By when and why? What's the why? What's the because that everyone can find their role in that story? We worked with the team once. It was 3 CPAs and a geologist, which sounds like the beginning of a bad joke. And they're like, we want to be a $250 million company by 2025 because we all want to make $55 million when we sell the company. And we're like, I mean, that's really specific. So good job on getting specific. Do you have people that work for you? Well, yeah, of course we have people that work for us. What's in it for them? Like when you sell the company, do they all get sort of a windfall too? Well, no, they'll just keep working for the new company. And we're like, well, no one's going to give their best and highest work to that because there's absolutely nothing in it for them. You want them to act like owners, treat them like owners. So we got to refine this. And ultimately, it was not a good fit to work with them. Wish them well, but you got to have a destination where your team can find their story in this. So here's a couple examples. This is a former healthcare tech client. We are going to be the most sought after partner for healthcare growth by 2025 because we empower others to reach their highest potential. This is a company called Rebuilt. We are going to sit at 3,000 kitchen tables, creating 75 value add real estate transactions per month by the end of 2025 because we can solve any real estate problem. This is ours. We are going to impact 1,000 organizations with a model for healthy, scalable growth by 2030 because we believe that exceptional leaders and healthy teams have the power to change the world. So as you think about your destination, what is the destination? What's the clarity of destination for you? Where are you going, by when, and why? Who's willing to share their, we'll have one person share their SFD here. Lori.
Ooh, I'm not
Oh,
ready.
I thought I saw you unmute, so I totally just called you out and I
Sorry.
didn't mean to do that.
Sorry, not that fast.
It's okay. I thought you unmuted, so I didn't mean to call you out. So any volunteers before I volunteer someone to share?
I'm not volunteering, but does the "we are going where," does that always need to have a number?
It doesn't always have to have a number, but it needs to be a specific destination.
Okay, thank you.
Like, we are going to be the most sought, like I think there was the most sought after partner for healthcare growth. So that was Stratasans. And then Rebuilt's had a number, ours has a number. I will tell you though that our number is definitely question mark for us being a newer company. So we'll revisit that at every one of our annual planning sessions just to say, like, do we still feel like that's doable, or do we feel like we could surpass that? So it's an iterative conversation for us. Great question, Kim. Anyone willing to put their destination out in the world here? Terry?
Yeah, we're going to help 1 million conscious founders scale their business by 2030 because we believe that when conscious businesses grow, that's what changes the world.
Kick ass. It's amazing. Love it. Good job. See why that's important though? We're putting a destination. We can't reverse engineer a plan if we don't have a destination. And we need to have a destination where all of our team can find their part in that story. If you move over to the top right-hand side of your roadmap, you'll see the Jim Collins hedgehog concept, and he writes about this in chapter 5 of Good to Great. And he takes this from the narrative, the hedgehog and the fox. The fox is good at a lot of different things, okay at a lot of different things. The hedgehog is great at one thing. And when we look long-term at sustainable organizations, companies that can grow and sustain in the long term, perform in the long term, we know they know with great clarity what to say yes to and what to say no to. If we say yes to something, we are always saying no to something else. And so the hedgehog concept really helps us get very clear on the boundaries of what we are best at, what we say yes to, and what we say no to, what we say maybe not now to. And that concept is the center of these 3 questions. What can we be best in the world at? What are we deeply passionate about? And what drives our economic engine? So what can we be best in the world at? And again, here, we're not going to try to get too existential. What are we really, really great at? And, you kind of think on one end, if we're kind of looking at a matrix here, like one axis is what are we highly skilled or competent at? What are we really passionate about? What ignites the fire within us to do something differently? And when we find alignment in what we're, I'm really, really passionate about education for kids. I am not an educator. So it would probably be unwise for me to try to figure that out right now, right? We have a lot of really good educators on our team. So is there alignment that I can bring there? Do we have competency? So what can we be best in the world at? What are we deeply passionate about? Those are 2 questions we've got to wrestle with. And then the third question, what drives, or you can even exchange that for what fuels our economic engine. I'm not asking what your economic engine is. You should know that. What I'm asking you for is what fuels. What's the fuel in that tank? What drives your economic engine? For us, our economic engine is retainer-based services. So what drives what our economic engine is retainer-based services. What fuels that are speaking opportunities and one-on-one conversations with owners of companies. When I or anyone on our team has a one-on-one conversation with an owner of a company, or we have a speaking engagement, which then leads to sometimes one-on-one conversations, that's the fuel in that tank. We are really looking at what leads us to our economic engine. So I'll give you a couple examples here. This is that company Stratasan. Again, what can we be best in the world at? So they're really competent at translating data into intelligence. And they're very passionate about efficiently solving problems. Their fuel is net retention, because they had a SaaS-based product. This is a company called Exceptional Leaders. What can we be best in the world at? Growing the capacity of leaders. What are we deeply passionate about? Doing deep work with leaders, and number of referrals is their fuel behind their economic engine. This is ours. What can we be best in the world at? Equipping leaders to grow ethical, people-centered companies. What are we deeply passionate about? Guiding entrepreneurs and their teams to break through their growth barriers. What drives our economic engine? Speaking opportunities and conversations with owners. So let's start with that first question. Who's willing to share what can we be best in the world at? What is your team, or what are you very, very competent at?
I'll go ahead and share.
Okay, go ahead, Ray. Thanks.
Yeah, so we are the best at providing transformational success services to enlighten leaders who aspire to make lasting positive difference in the world.
Awesome. Michelle, would you share what you're deeply passionate about?
Yes, elevating awareness of capability.
Great. Awesome. Is anyone willing to share your stab at the fuel, or what drives your economic engine?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give it a go. So yeah, for me, it's developing lasting relationships. Many of my clients I've had for 7, I've got one client over 20 years that I followed them from company to company.
Awesome. So it's that retention, right? Like, so
Absolutely.
the more we can, absolutely. That's good. That's good. Yeah. And when you capture that, you start measuring that. And then you even keep thinking about what leads us to net retention. Well, it's number of times I coached this person, or whatever that is. You really start to think about what are all the leading behaviors that get us to that fuel, which then drives our economic engine. And that's really, like, when we talk about being kind to people, when people understand their contribution towards our economic engine, I mean, you like, it's like pouring jet fuel on things, right? Like, then they understand with deep clarity, oh, okay, this is what I need to be doing more of, or here's how I think we can get better at that, or here's some more fuel that maybe we could add to what we're doing to drive a bigger economic engine for the company. I know I'm moving fast, but I'm going to move us on because I got a couple other parts I want you to have. How many of you have core values? Has anyone ever worked for a company that didn't have core values? Really? You're like a first. Every company I've ever worked with has core values. Some of them spend gobs of money putting them like on banners and hanging them all over the place. In fact, one time I was working with an organization and they literally had these gigantic banners with their core values written. And I said, we were in a spot where the team couldn't see them. And I'm like, tell me what your core values are. Couldn't name them. And I thought, how sad, like, how much money have you spent on these core values? And I found that to be true. Most 95% of organizations have core values. Less than 10% of organizations have actually operationalized those core values into habits. Your values are who you say you are, right? They're the covenant in the chaos. They're not aspirational. They're not permission to play. It's why I don't really like having integrity as a core value, because I feel like integrity really is permission to play, right? Like, we are who we say we are. We choose courage over comfort. We choose to do what's right. That really should be permission to play for most of us. Like, showing up, work ethic is probably a permission to play value, but values are who we say we are. They are, that really comes down to our brand. Who are we? They're the riverbank that keep the river in check. In Nashville, we have 100-year flood like every 2 years. And we have this tiny little river that runs through downtown Franklin, where I live. And on most days, you'll see people like kayaking down this streamish river. And then we get this 100-year flood, and the river is a mile from its riverbanks. The riverbanks are what keep the river in check. And because we don't have strong riverbanks, it causes chaos and destruction. Your values are your riverbank. Here's a list of values, common values that I've seen in organizations. Not, 100% exhaustive, but a good list of values here. I think you should not have any more than 4 core values. As a human, we can remember 2 to 3 things, sometimes 4. When there's 5 things, we remember 2. So it's sort of the law of diminishing return here, right? We have more than 4 core values, people aren't going to remember them. But we can't stop with values. If we list out our values, who we say we are, and some people have words, some people kind of have statements. I want you to fast forward now to your culture. How would you describe the culture of working with or for you? Does everyone know what Glassdoor is? Glassdoor can sometimes be a dumpster fire. Also can be very honest. Hopefully I didn't take a job here because of all the interesting reviews about the company. What would the perfect Glassdoor statement say about your company? What would the attributes be there? Or if you had an employee, let's say that, if you could clone them, you would. They're amazing. They're an amazing team member. And they're recruiting their best friend who has the same work ethic and values as them. What do you hope that they say about working at your organization? Those are the attributes of your culture. That's the outcome of living out your values. The culture equation is this: our values plus our habits equal the culture. Values alone will not equal your culture. Our habits are what we invest time, our energy, our resources, our dollars behind. Habits are how we actualize or operationalize our values. So a couple of examples here. If we have the values of assume positive intent, we'll figure it out. Everyone makes the coffee and our success is my success. The habits behind that are we all give a shit. We learn from experiments. We have constant communication. We challenge each other. We recognize great work. And hopefully that equals being collaborative. The descriptors of our culture would be collaborative, empowering, fun, and curious. Here's another example. And you'll notice the difference here, right? Like this team chose to use words instead of statements. The value of grit, responsibility, ownership, authenticity, and discipline paired together with the habits of investing in their physical space, commitment to 360 reviews, get backs, and a monthly social equal continual growth, a rewarding culture, one that's open and honest and fun. Our values are choosing people first, giving generously, courage over comfort, and we believe the best in ourselves and others. Our habits are investing in the health of our team. It's a high dollar ticket item for us in our budget. We prioritize in-person time with one another. We try new things. I hope this is not offensive. This is another Brené Brown acronym. We celebrate the FFT, which is the fucking first time, because the first time we do anything is always terrible. So we literally have a Slack channel called FFTs, and we are constantly sharing those with each other. And we give a lot of money and resources away, time, energy, money. And hopefully that equals an abundance mindset, being celebratory, wholehearted, and having collective results. So you should have the top half from bets up filled out on the SFD of your roadmap. And here we look at what is our vision for our company? Who is it that we say we are? What are we going to be intentional about investing time, energy, money behind? What are the boundaries here of what we say yes to, what we say no to? And then the bottom half are the bets that you are making to get there. So think about the top half of this page sort of as your 5-year vision, starting to paint that picture of the 5-year vision of your organization. Now we start to come up with a strategy to get there. And I love this quote by Herb Kelleher. We have a strategic plan. It's called doing things. And that's the bottom half here, is you starting to get really clear on what bets you are making to get you to your goal. So in 5 years, if everything on the top half of that page is true, what are the investments, the bets that you need to make to get there? And so we start with the 3-year picture, right? And the 3-year picture, you'll see sort of those lines there. R is your revenue. Where do you hope to be revenue-wise? Where do you hope to be profitability-wise? And that might just be a percentage. And then as you think about your economic engine, what are the metrics behind that economic engine? Where does it need to be in 3 years so that we have this sort of midpoint in the trajectory of the roadmap and getting to where we want to go? So we sort of like, if I'm driving from Nashville to Chicago, at 3 years, what's Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis is sort of the midpoint for our family when we're driving to Michigan or to Chicago. So what does that 3-year picture look like? And you can start painting on, with the lines underneath there. What does that look like? What's been accomplished? As you start to paint that picture of what done looks like in 3 years, what is that? And a couple of pointers here: acknowledge uncertainty about the future, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I think COVID was definitely a punch in the face for most of us, right? I don't know many people that in 2015 had on their 5-year picture, like, we're going to prepare for a pandemic because a pandemic might come and shut the world down, and we need to be ready for that. So you have to acknowledge uncertainty about the future, have confidence in accomplishing the plan. And our plan is not pie in the sky, but it's also not playing it safe. So we have our 3-year picture. Then we start to get really clear on our 1-year focus. What's going to be true 12 months from now? Where are we going to be revenue-wise, profitability-wise? What are the numbers behind our economic engine? And what are the goals that we've accomplished by the end of the year? And then we encourage teams to work in 90-day sprints. That final column there is what's most important over the course of the next 90 days for us to accomplish as leaders, as individuals that are going to put us on that trajectory. And so we call these quarterly objectives. And I was an EOS implementer for a lot of years, and we, kind of talked in terms of rocks, and that was helpful. This is sort of, I think, double clicking into that a little bit. Not only what is the rock, so what is it that we're doing here, but what's the mission? Why is this important? What are the goals? What are the key objectives? We know this has been done if these things have been accomplished. And then what's going to be done at 30 days? So what are the 30-day milestones? What are the 60-day milestones? So that we know we're on track, we're keeping this thing on track, we're taking time to intentionally talk about it. And then when we're doing quarterly planning and we're lining out our quarterly objectives, are there decisions we can make today that would greatly propel this objective forward? So when we're looking at quarterly objectives, like, for example, if we need to implement a new CRM, well, maybe we've done the research. We've looked at ActiveCampaign and HubSpot and the other tools, and we probably could make a decision on which tool we need to use. And that's going to greatly propel the CRM being implemented in 90 days if we as a leadership team can make that decision today. So this is all about helping you have a strategy for execution. We've outlined on the top half of that page our 5-year vision. We've started painting the 3-year picture. We're getting clarity of focus on what's going to be accomplished by the end of this year. Now we've got a plan for execution, for executing this strategy, this vision that really boils down to, what are we working on today, this month, this quarter, that's going to actually put us on track to getting that done. And yeah, we can iterate on it, but we can focus outside of the whirlwind of everything else that we have going on to actually move our vision forward with confidence. This is one tool. The roadmap is one tool. And as we look at this idea of, building an organization that's people first, that's sustainable, that's purpose driven and focused, this is one of the tools that I would say helps create clarity with kindness. It's the foundational tool. You have to start with the roadmap before you get to the org chart, before you get to the scorecard, before you get to objectives, before you get to the weekly meeting. But these 5 things really help create a foundation, I think, for growing and scaling a purposeful company, and one that puts people first. I'll touch on this in just a second, but I'm going to give you a resource here that has all of these tools in it so that you can kind of dig into these. But when we talk about people, I think the org chart is one of the most underutilized tools in any company's toolbox, because most of the time, what is an org chart, right? Like, it's that, Word document that has that weird add-on in Microsoft Word that has who everyone reports to. Great, I know who I report to. Your org chart should have these critical pieces of information, and everyone should have access to this. What's the mission of their role? I love Albert Einstein said, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life believing it's stupid. So what's the mission in one sentence? What is the mission of their role? What are they here to do and here to accomplish? What are their key performance indicators? And not a long list here. What is the most important metric that this person has authority, autonomy, and accountability behind? Do not give this person a KPI that they do not have autonomy around affecting, or don't have the resources. Like, profit, this one drives me crazy. When people are like, your number is our P&L or profitability. Well, I think we should eliminate the spend over here in these areas because it's a drain on our bottom line. Well, we can't do that. We've always spent money over here. Well, that is not a KPI that they can be held accountable to. They don't have the authority. They don't have the resources to be able to affect that number. But everyone should have key performance indicator. And then what are their responsibilities at a high level? No more than 5 bullet points here. What are their key and core responsibilities? And then this leads to, how do we do one-on-ones? How do we check in? How do we assess fit and right people in right seats? It comes down to this tool, right? When people have clarity of their roles and responsibilities, we can have healthy accountability. We can have conversations around this. And I would say most of the time we don't hold people accountable because in the end, as leaders, we know we have not created clarity for them. And I by default think people are doing their best, and they might be doing their best, and their best isn't what you need them to be doing. And most of the time it's on us as leaders because they have no idea. And I think shame on us if we have not provided that clarity with abundant clarity, or maybe they're in the wrong seat and a different seat is going to better utilize their genius. Great. Let's have those conversations, but let's make sure that we have clarity. I walked you through objectives. The scorecard is just making sure we as a team are aligned on the most important numbers on a weekly basis. And then our weekly syncs is, and you can download this template, a template for running amazing meeting where we are solving the most important problems of our organization on a weekly basis. And again, here, this is how we drive confident alignment towards our strategic plan. So really, org chart plus scorecard plus objectives plus weekly meeting. When we use our roadmap as really the guiding document for all of these things, I think can drive purposeful growth in our companies. So I'll open it up to Q&A, and I'll also put this up on the screen as well. This is just QR code. I'm happy to, for anyone in this community, if you would like, I'm happy to give you some feedback on your roadmap. So if you want to schedule a time with me, that link will send you my Calendly, and we can jump on a call and look at what you created together. I'll give you some feedback. And hopefully give you some tools to help you execute this. And this is work that we do with teams every day. So happy to give you that as a gift for listening to me talk for 50 minutes here. So I'll pause there. What questions do you have? What feedback, comments? I'd love to open it up.
I just want to applaud you, Zach. This is practical. It's simple. It's clear. It's truly one of the best planning methodologies that I've seen in the conscious entrepreneur space. So just hats off to you. This is great.
Oh, thanks, Terry.
I'm just really appreciating how much work I have to do and getting my feet planted firmly on the ground. I have a tendency to be up in the weeds. I mean, not up in the weeds, up in the stratosphere.
Mm.
And, I speak poetically about what I do and who I am in the world. And this was not pleasantly confronting, but it was much needed. And so I really appreciate you being here and also sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Lori. I appreciate that.
I want to just heap on more gratitude to you right now. I'm transitioning and really focusing on building my speaker brand. It's my absolute gift, and having this as a guide to move away from what I thought I should do or what I need to do and really focus on what differentiates me it's powerful to just have that message so aligned with where I am at this juncture in, building. So it's absolutely incredible the timeliness of your message. So please never stop sharing it.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you. You all are so kind.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same thing. This has been super, super helpful, and actually the perfect time in my life, in the life of my business. So I appreciate it a lot. I probably will take you up on the free call because there are things I'd love to chat about. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to talk to you. Yeah, everyone use that. I'd love to spend some time with you.
Oh, and speaking of the free call, I jumped on it immediately, and it took me to, I don't know if this link is different from the last link, but it just took me to fill in a keep in touch.
Yes, it'll automatically, it's just easier. Yeah, it'll automatically send you my calendar from there.
Got it. All right. I just didn't know if
thanks for that question. That's good.
Right. And it's thorough. I was just like, okay, I'm so impressed with this process right now of gathering. Like, I love the gathering. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great use of QR codes.
Okay, right.
Yeah, very much.
Thank you. It's the younger people on our team that help me with that. So yes.
Well, Zach, I think it's unanimous. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leanne.
No, I did have one thank you. And if we have time for one quick question.
Sure.
Before we wrap up, is there a specific part of this process that trips leaders up more frequently than others, or does it depend on where they're at in their journey?
It typically is different for every organization. They're usually, obviously this takes 2 days to go through, to do all the work that we just did in lining out objectives. What we tend to do is our process, we actually start with, we call it day 1, and then we go to day 30 and 31. Day 30 and 31 is where we really dig in with a microscope into this document. Day 1 is where what we do there is we actually teach the methodology, the tooling, because we find the first 30 days end up being this shit show of like trying new meeting norms out, and like we're trying these objectives out. We do like a first 30-day objective sort of thing, but that usually kind of helps calm the cadence of all of these new things at one time. We get into the rhythm of, you know, working on the most important things. We're talking about everyone's roles and responsibilities. But in that first 30 days, we sort of learn what's going to trip us up. And then we sort of plan on, we dig in and plan to work on those areas together. But it's just different for every team. Some teams are like, start getting really pie in the sky and overly philosophical around their destination and hedgehog. And some are like, I don't know what my economic engine is. And sometimes that takes months to figure out. And that's okay, because once you do figure it out, it is such an important principle, and then drives activity for us at the same time.
Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
great question.
Just a quick additional moment of praise for you, Zach, and for this process. I've seen many of these kinds of approaches, and this is, I really can, it's inspiring and also really impressive to see how you clearly understand the problem set of the people you're helping. It's so easy to identify with, and I can think of half a dozen off the top of my head companies who would be so good, who benefit so much from what you're offering here. So I really appreciate
thank you.
And
Send them our way.
I will, yeah, as an example, and
Thank
also
you.
as a part of our community. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's really kind.
Yeah, great job, Zach. That was awesome. And, you know, even more excited to partner with you in the days ahead. So lots of great stuff in the future. And when this is posted, we'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it. And then Zach, I'll be following up with you on a couple of those other opportunities that we've talked about, but this very well done.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone. Have a
I'm
wonderful rest of your
horrified,
day.
by the way, Zach. Mwah.
Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you.
Horrified that this was literally on my calendar starting in 4 minutes. I thought I logged in early.
Well, Terry will share with you the recording.
Yeah, it was great. That's okay. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you introduced me to Zach. He's just amazing.
Yes.
Love this community. Thank you, everyone.
And I just had a great call with Jeannie, by the way, Jack. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.